So now we're going to go to part 2, which is like setting up the omoplata off this. So the omoplata is not so hard off this, but people always think about the finish of the omoplata. So what we're going to do is set up the setup to get to the omoplata first, and then we'll finish the omoplata like second. So there's 2 parts to this, okay? Let's just do the first part, all right? Because if you try to do the whole thing, there's too many details. And everyone always, trust me, everyone always fucks up the omoplata finish. They always get that wrong. And I'm going to show you today how I've worked out personally how to make the omoplata easier than long time ago when I just couldn't finish an omoplata. I could get to the omoplata, but it was always difficult and I'm going to show you how people finish it wrong, and I'm going to show you how to finish it like the right way and easier way. There's lots of different ways, but this is personal interpretation how I've found it works the best. So, everything is exactly the same. Start is exactly the same. All you're doing is like part 2, like one of the second horseman of the apocalypse now. Now when you get to here, just say you weren't feeling that your pinch wasn't the greatest from here. So like your knee pinch wasn't the greatest, or your grip isn't the greatest, the heat's powerful. Just things that arise when you're rolling. So the plan is not going the way you thought it was going to go, and it should have been, but things arise. So the thing here is now is that he's got sharp elbows and he starts sawing away on your privates. Yowza. Do you know what I mean? We've all been there. So what you want to do is, I don't know, do you want your privates sawed away? Keep it in there. I don't know about you. Hey, to each their own, whatever you do in the privacy of your own home. I don't care. So what I'm going to do is keep this grip here, okay, and then the minute, and again, let's keep it like, the Scousler isn't here, so we don't have to laugh about this right now. When he pulls it out, I pull it out. Does that make sense? So if he pulls the arm out, I pull my arm out. So my right hand now scoots behind, like I'm going to like put my wallet away, and then I just hitchhike out to the side behind his leg. So I go underneath, and I hitchhike out to the side behind his leg. Here. Does that make sense? Now, this left leg of mine here is going to do this big helicopter blade so that we now run like evenly side by side. Does that make sense? Look, this is key too. Don't drop your hips to the floor from here. Stay here the whole time. Does that make sense? Now what I'm going to do is, because I'm up, I'm going to bring my heels. This happens really quickly, so don't be like, oh, I'm going to do all these massive movements, right? I'm going to bring my heels up a little bit to sway them. So I'm going to sway them, and I'm going to take this arm out. This arm helped me, the right arm helped me cut the corner. The right arm comes out and onto his back in a minute. So I raise my hips up, and then I kick him forward. And look, come to a seated position with my butt on the floor. My knees are here, my knees aren't flat. My knees aren't like sitting like this. I should be comfortable here. This, my right hand now comes on top of his back. I like to get the suitcase grip, or I like to underhook his arm. Personal preference here. The easiest one to do is get the suitcase grip, because what it does is it makes sure that your elbow goes on his back and he can't do forward rolls out. So from here, gentlemen, ladies, what we're going to do is we're going to omoplata them from here. But we're going to get to here first, because there is no point doing the omoplata if you can't get to this part first. Because you do not need your hands anymore to finish the lock. You don't need your hands anymore. That's how we're going to do it. So you don't need. People are so adamant about holding his hand. I don't need to hold that hand. I'm going to show you how you don't need to hold his hand or his wrist or his arm here. Don't need to. I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute and how to do the arm lock in a minute. So he now, he's on his fours with his arm like this. He's going to be compromised right now. Is there any questions to there so far? No? All right, cool. So this part's not too hard. But let's get this part right first. So the arm lock, exactly the same. This hand now. Remember before when I said the right hand doesn't come off till he finishes? The left hand stays in here the whole time. So remember, if he pulls his arm out, you pull your arm out. This hand stays here the whole time. Peeling your elbow down, which basically pulls his shoulder the direction you need him to go. Right hand go up behind here. And now this leg comes out, but doesn't go on the floor. It doesn't need to go on the floor. Now here, we're ready to kick and go forward, right? The main thing I want you to remember right now is this. Don't be this way. Don't have your outside butt cheek on the floor. You will fail. If anything, both butt cheeks is okay. Inside butt cheek is the best. Okay? Outside butt cheek, bad news. Both butt cheeks is the way I want you to do it today, so you remember. Right hand's gonna come out as I look. Come up to a sitting position. Hands are out, here. Okay, sit forward with your chest a little bit. The one thing you'll notice when you sit forward with the chest is his wrist now gets embedded in your pocket. Does that make sense? If you just sit here like this, his hand can come out. That's what happens. Does that make sense? But the minute you sit forward with your chest a little bit, when he tries to get his hand out, it's difficult. Open your chest up, easier. Does that make sense? Relax. Is there any questions to there? No?
When you spun around, your right hand obviously still stays on the same when you're doing the arm lock.
My left hand?
No, your right hand. Oh, sorry. No, right hand.
Yes, arm lock.
So you obviously grab that one, this one's still on the whole time.
Yes. Yeah, so we're doing the arm lock. And then when we do the arm lock, what happens is that like he starts like pulling his elbow out. You never just try to pull your arm out. You get arm locked that way. What you've got to do, like when I said he's going to try and saw your bits in half here, is he's trying to clear his elbow out of your groin area. The minute his elbow gets clear, his arm is clear. You never try and escape the arm lock until your elbow is past that groove, then you can pull it out. You never just go, oh, I'm going to pull it out, because what you do is that you arm lock yourself, you extend it yourself. You saw it out until your elbow is clear, and then you pull it out. That's the way you'll get out of that arm lock. So if you feel like, oh man, he's going for it, he's trying to saw that arm out before he gets here, as soon as his elbow's past your groin, he pulls it out, you pull your arm out and go for the scoop. Does that make sense? The scoop is to help you cut the angle to run parallel with him. Okay? And remember, butt off the floor. I forgot to mention that like I did last night, your abs are doing a little bit of workout today. Does that make sense? And if your abs are doing a little bit of a workout today, you're doing it correctly. Okay? Yeah. One more time. Do you want to see a different angle? Yeah. Does anybody else want to see a different angle? Yes, sir. Okay. I'll do this one. Okay. Arm lock is exactly the same. Now here, this hand, the left hand is engaged. He starts soaring. His hand comes out, your hand comes out. Scoot here. The main thing I want you to think of is that Beyonce hip you pulled the first time you had on your hip out here stays here the entire time. More Beyonce, the better right now. And that's a general rule of life. Okay, all right. Scoot here. Does that make sense? Now, the minute I kick and sit up, I do not need any grips. Grips are always going to be better, but I do not need them. Here. That's where I want you to sit. Does that make sense? I don't need the grips, but they're better. Okay. Questions? Let's give it a shot. Yep. 1, 2, 3. All right, cool.